Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to online church, Marseilles First Baptist Church, and I'm glad you're here and listening, and I'm kind of hoping that there's groups of you listening together. If you are, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe make a comment if you did call someone this week and invite them to your house to watch the sermon with you, and kind of begin to break out of this isolation that we've been in for a while now. Really looking forward to today. I last Sunday after church, maybe it was like Monday or Tuesday actually, I was, of course asking God, what do you want me to talk about the next week? Because I have to prepare. And I really felt him tell me to read Isaiah 40. And, it's always interesting when God, specifically points something like that out. And I remember I opened up Isaiah 40. And the first word is comfort. And so I started thinking about comfort and being comfortable and, being comforted and comforting. And just started thinking about all these different things. And I was thinking, what kind of things make me comfortable? And then I was contrasting the, different things that I'm sure have been, maybe it's just me. But I know that temperature can be a contentious issue in a household. Some people like it a little bit warmer, some people like it a little bit cooler. I tend to like it a little bit warmer. Could be because of the lack of hair, I'm not sure. And, my wife doesn't, necessarily like it so hot. And then I was thinking about some other different things that, things that make me comfortable that don't necessarily make other people comfortable. Some people like to be in crowds. They like to hang out with lots of people all the time, and I'm more comfortable off by myself, just kind of thinking and doing different things. And so it's comfort level. I was thinking, when I lay down to go to sleep, I just need a sheet, just a nice thin sheet. It's all I really need to be comfortable. But my wife, she's got like this bowling ball weighted blanket that would make me feel claustrophobic, but that's what makes her comfortable versus what makes me comfortable. So I've been thinking about comfort all week, and we really do focus a lot on our own comfort. But so one of the things that it's going to talk about, obviously, in Isaiah 40 is comfort, but there's some other things in there too. And I just want to start reading Isaiah 40, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 8, and we'll see where we end up. So Isaiah 40, verses 1 through 8 says, "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem, and proclaim to her that her hard service has been completed, that her sin has been paid for, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. A voice of one calling, in the wilderness prepare the way for the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low. The rough ground shall become level, the rugged places a plain, and the glory of the Lord will be revealed. And all people will see it together. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken." A voice says, "Cry out." And I say, "What shall I cry?" All people are like grass, and all their faithfulness is like the flowers of the field. The grass withers and the flowers fall because the breath of the Lord blows on them. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God endures forever. So many of us are probably familiar with a lot of these verses that are just, 1 through 8 here. And so I can even remember when I was a kid memorizing verse 8. I had never really noticed the previous verses when I was a kid, but it was an easy verse to memorize. And, the grass withers, flowers fade, but the word of our God will stand forever. I can remember memorizing that. Verse 3, a lot of us are familiar with that because it's a reference back to, or forward to, John the Baptist preparing the way for Jesus and his coming. And so there's a lot of things in here that are very familiar, but I'm still reading through it, and I'm like, okay, God, what is it that you want me to talk about? What is it that you're trying to tell us by having me read Isaiah 40. So I continued. It says Isaiah 40, verses 9 through 11. You who bring good news to Zion, go up on a high mountain. You who bring good news to Jerusalem, lift up your voice with a shout. Lift it up. Do not be afraid. Say to the towns of Judah, here is your God. See, the sovereign Lord comes with power, and he rules with a mighty arm. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense accompanies him. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. And so as I am reading, the first part's talking about comfort, and now he's talking about, being this awesome shepherd who loves his sheep, and he holds them, and he cares for them, and he guides them. And we don't have to be afraid because we have a God that is like that. And so I'm like, okay, I'll keep reading. What else do we have here? So Isaiah 40, 12 through 26, he continues. It says, who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, or with the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Who has held the dust of the earth in a basket, or weighed the mountains on the scales and the hills in a balance? Who can fathom the Spirit of the Lord, or instruct the Lord as his counselor? Whom did the Lord consult to enlighten him? And who taught him the right way? Who was it that taught him knowledge, or showed him the path of understanding? Surely the nations are like a drop in a bucket. They are regarded as dust on the scales. He weighs the islands as though they were fine dust. Lebanon is not sufficient for altar fires, nor its animals enough for burnt offerings. Before him all the nations are as nothing. They are regarded by him as worthless and less than nothing. With whom then will you compare God? To what image will you liken him? As for an idol, a metal worker casts it, and a goldsmith overlays it with gold and fashions silver chains for it. A person too poor to present such an offering selects wood that will not rot. They look for a skilled worker to set up an idol that will not topple. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood since the earth was founded? He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy, and spreads them out like a tent to live in. He brings princes to naught and reduces the rulers of this world to nothing. No sooner are they planted, no sooner are they sown, no sooner do they take root in the ground, than he blows on them and they wither, and a whirlwind sweeps them away like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal? Says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these? He brings out the starry host one by one, and calls forth each of them by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. So, continuing in 40, now we've moved from, this, we need to take comfort, and we know that he cares for us and he loves us, and, we're his sheep, and he's the shepherd, and he holds us in his arms and protects us. And now it's moved into really expressing he's a big, all-powerful God. He looks at the nations of the earth as nothing. He weighs islands. I mean, he's just a big, big God, and I'm seeing that. And so, let's continue and finish Isaiah 40 and see what the overwhelming thought process is for Isaiah 40. I want to read 27 through 31. It says, why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord. My cause is disregarded by my God. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Once again, more familiar verses that we're familiar with. And so there was so much in Isaiah 40 that anyone could take a few verses out and really teach on it and talk on it and give a whole sermon. It almost seems like I'm cheating because I'm spending like 5 minutes just reading one chapter. And so, like, what is the things in this that really jump out at me? Like, what's the overwhelming feeling from reading the whole chapter? And there was a couple of things that I noticed right away. First, God is going to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and he doesn't ask anyone for their opinion about it. He's that powerful, and I know it can bother a lot of people sometimes that God is that big and that powerful. And if it's bothering you, it's probably because you are experiencing pride and self-sufficiency, because he's God, and if he is who he says he is, he has the right to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and he isn't going to ask our opinion. And that can seem scary sometimes. I know that even some Christians can be a little intimidated by how big and how powerful God is, because he is big and he is powerful. And but the second part that I'm getting in this, that I'm seeing in this, is that we can take comfort in knowing that he's on our team, or we're on his team. I take comfort knowing that I'm playing on his team. It reminds me when I was a kid in grade school, when we would get ready to play a game, whatever it was, and you'd have your captains, and they would be picking different kids, and I was usually last or second to last when I got picked. That's just the way it was, and I'm okay with it. I don't need inner healing about it. I've gotten over it. But when we think about God in that kind of a scenario, it's imagine that you're getting ready to play football, and you get to pick the Incredible Hulk to be your defensive line in football. I mean, it's like you want, the Incredible Hulk can seem scary if he's not on your team, but if he's on your team, how awesome is that? He just, they hike the ball and he just wipes out the offense, and that's it. And that's kind of how I see God being on our team. Like, we're playing on his side. When we describe God, we should describe him in a way that's not scary. I think about, our Heavenly Father. He's a good, loving, and forgiving God. He's a perfect Father who gives his children good and perfect gifts. Our Father is the perfect judge that is just and upright. He's merciful, gracious, slow to anger, and full of justice. He is the beginning and the end, the creator of all things, who holds us in his hand. Our Father, the King of ages, is a stronghold in times of trouble. Our God is our light and our salvation, and is always, always faithful. Think back to, when I had memorized verse 8, I had not really noticed the previous ones where he's saying that the faithfulness of a human is about as faithful as a flower. It'll bloom, but it's gone in no time. It's not faithful like God is. God is faithful. He's always, always faithful. And he's on our side. We're on his side. We're on the same team together, and he's big and he's powerful. So when we have God on our team, we can have this assurance that we're on the winning team. We can't lose. And if you're still trying to do life without Jesus, you're going to lose, because there's only two teams. And so if you're not on God's team, you're going to lose, because God is huge, he's powerful, and he's going to win. And that's the second thing in this chapter that I really see, is that the hope and the assurance and the comfort that we can have with a God like that. That he did all the work and made it so that we can be on his team, we can be in his family, because he did everything, and all we have to do is say, yeah, I'll play on your team. I accept you. I accept this free gift of salvation. And it's comforting to know that our hope brings this assurance of the end result being in our favor. And it's not like the hope that the world has, because their hope is different in that it's like, oh, I hope that happens, or I hope I don't lose my job, or I hope I don't get sick. And it's like this hope that they have has no assurance. And so in a lot of ways, the way that we've translated it into our language, assurance is probably the better word, because we are assured that with the God that I've described, that's described in Isaiah 40, that's all powerful and can't lose, that's assurance that we're going to win. So the world needs us to tell them about this hope, because this hope is an assurance. And I think of other religions in the world that I've looked at and studied a little bit. Even at the end, they would say, we're not sure. We hope we've done everything right. We hope our good has outweighed our bad. All the different, criteria that they have for making it into a blissful eternity, they're not sure of. As for us, even though, we may be making mistakes on the field, type of a scenario, because we have God on the field too, running the plays, we can't lose. And the world needs to know that. The world needs to know that they can be with God. Like they can accept God and play on his team, so to speak. Because when I think about all the different scenarios that I see, as a pastor and whatnot, and visiting different people and talking to different people and listening to people's, struggles and problems and stuff that we all have, I can look at any believer and I can say, it's going to be okay, with confidence. I can say that with absolute confidence, because it doesn't matter whether we live or die, or we're healthy or sick or rich or poor, whatever the circumstances. There are no circumstances that I can't say it's going to be okay. We just need to keep an eternal perspective. Because in the perspective of eternity, that we're serving this God who can't lose, we know that the end result is victory, and it's going to be okay. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anyone's problems or difficulties that they're going through. I don't try to sugarcoat my own when I'm going through them. I just look at it as, I'm assured that this time, this thing that I'm going through, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I've found in life in general that I can go through almost anything anything I've experienced so far, as long as I know that there's an ending. Like there's a light there at the end of the tunnel. This is going to end, and so I can endure it for this time. And we have to have that eternal perspective. And the thing is the world, not just during this time, at any time, they need this kind of hope and assurance, because they don't have it. They don't have a hope and an assurance of what the end result is going to be. And it's our job to tell the world this. The other day I was out in my yard and I was noticing some rabbits that, are wandering around. And I was thinking, to a rabbit, it must really seem like everything is out to get them. I mean, they're at the bottom of the totem pole. You got coyotes, hawks, snakes, my dog. I mean, everything seems to be after these rabbits. And they've found ways of dealing with it. And so one of the ways that they deal with it, is camouflage. They have the markings and the fur that helps them to blend into their environment and be camouflaged, so hopefully, the predators don't see them. And then the other thing that they'll do is they'll sit perfectly still and not move at all, hoping, even though you can see them, they don't know you can see them, and so they're just sitting there real still, like, I'm not here, I'm not here. And, well, I can see you. And then the other thing, when you start to get too close, and they can run really, really fast, way faster than I can run. And so I'm not going to catch them. But so they have these defenses. And so as I was meditating on that and thinking about it, I was thinking, I know a lot of Christians that kind of live like rabbits. They want to be all camouflaged and just blend into the world and their environment and where they live. And they don't want to be noticed. Like, don't look at, I'm not here. They sit really still and they don't do anything unless there's nothing around, and they eat dandelions. But I mean, they just sit there. And it's all about self-preservation, and we don't, our job as the church isn't to be worried about self-preservation. Our job as the church is to go out and tell people that they need Jesus, that we have this hope. It's an eternal hope. It's not a temporary hope. It's not a temporary assurance, and it's an eternal assurance. And so we don't want to be like rabbits. It's comfortable to be a rabbit, I guess, just eating dandelions and hopping around, and every once in a while you got to run. But the church is supposed to be more like the predators, not the prey. We're more like the predators in that, I think of Jesus. He's referred to as the Lion of Judah. He's not referred to as the rabbit. I mean, sure, he came as a lamb, but now he's coming back as a lion. And so the church is supposed to go out and be active, proactive in searching for its prey, I guess, so to speak. That you don't devour anyone, but you seek after people, like look for them and pull them out of this hopelessness that they're in, the rock that the gates of hell won't be able to stand against. That's the church. It's not this dormant thing. It's a battering ram that's supposed to beat down the gates of hell, and that's how we're supposed to think. And the thing is we already know just from reading Isaiah 40, we can't lose because God's on our team. And so he's going to do these things. He is. He promises. He says, I'm going to go and I'm going to do these things. But he, for some reason that I still find a mystery, he's asked us to do it with him. Like he wants to work through us and use us. And if we're sitting like a rabbit, trying to be all camouflaged and blend into the world so that nobody notices how weird we are, then the job's not going to get done by us. And he's going to look and he's going to find other people to do it. He's going to find other believers who have the faith and have the assurance and they have the eternal perspective that they're willing to go through anything, no matter what it is, no matter what the circumstances. They're able to persevere and move forward in building God's kingdom. So let me end with this. 2 Corinthians 1, verses 3 through 4. It says, Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. So let me tell you again, it's going to be okay. And then your job is to tell others, with Christ, it's going to be okay, no matter what it is that we're going through. And Psalms 91, 1 through 8. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. Excuse me. It's going to be okay. My God, in whom I trust, surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. Let's take comfort in knowing that God is in control, and He's on our side. And I appreciate, the Psalms here and what he's saying. But the thing is that in a lot of ways, some of it will come near us and it will affect us. So this is in the context of a different thing, but his description of God, gathering us under his wings and protecting us and taking us into eternity with him, that's real. And so no matter what happens, no matter what's going on, we can take comfort in knowing he's God, he's powerful, he does whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and he's on our side. So if you've never put your trust in Jesus, today is a good day to do that. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you so much for your word. Lord, that we can look to your word and we can find comfort, we can find strength, we can find encouragement, we can find conviction, challenging things to motivate us, to keep us moving forward and building your kingdom. Lord, I thank you that you've provided everything for the believer that they need to do the work that you've called us to do. Lord, I thank you that you're such a good, powerful God who loves us and gives us good gifts. Lord, I thank you for the people who continue to gather every Sunday to listen to your word, to grow in their faith and their understanding of who you are. Lord, I thank you for them. I ask that you'll bless each and every one of them, their families, and just give them the strength and the courage to go on, to share their story and share the hope and let the world know that there is a way that is completely assured by the God who created everything. So we thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.